If you want to know which AI voice generator sounds the most realistic, I tested the major options to find out what actually holds up, and honestly, most of them are just average. A lot of tools promise natural speech, but once you listen closely, you start hearing the same problems again and again. Flat delivery, awkward pacing, bad pauses, and emphasis that never sounds human. That is exactly why I wanted to do this test properly. I compared some of the biggest names in AI voice generation, and I looked at the things that actually matter: sound quality, emotional range, ease of use, and overall value. But instead of treating voice like a separate tool, I ran this whole process with Freepik in mind. Because for me, that is the real difference. Freepik is not just another place to generate one voice and leave. It fits voice into a much bigger creative workflow. Inside Freepik, you can work with AI voiceovers, music, sound effects, and video creation in the same creative ecosystem. So instead of stitching everything together across 5 different tools, you can build content in one place and move much faster, and that matters a lot more than people think. So for this comparison, I looked at 4 major voice options: Wellsaid, Fish Audio, ElevenLabs, and Minimax. And after testing all of them, one thing became very clear. Some tools are good at one thing, some are decent all around. But only one really feels like the strongest overall option for realistic voice generation. Let's start with quality. If the audio is not clear, nothing else matters. Wellsaid sounds polished and professional, almost like a corporate narrator or newsreader. It is clean, but sometimes a bit stiff. Fish Audio sounds extremely good when you get it right. The quality can be excellent, but it takes more effort to control. ElevenLabs is where things start to feel much more natural. The clarity is strong, the delivery is believable, and the voices tend to feel more human right away. Minimax is more inconsistent. Sometimes it works, but other times it sounds compressed or less refined. Then there is emotional range. This is where average tools usually collapse. Wellsaid works best for serious controlled narration, but it struggles when you want energy, sadness, urgency, or emotional nuance. Fish Audio gives you a lot of control, which is powerful, but also harder to use. If you know what you are doing, you can get strong emotional results. If you do not, it is easy to overdo it. ElevenLabs is the most impressive here. It picks up emotional intent much more naturally, so the voice often sounds right even without a lot of complicated prompting. Minimax does better with emotion than with raw quality, but it still does not feel as convincing overall. Then we get to ease of use. And this is where the gap gets even bigger. Some tools may sound good in theory, but if the workflow is frustrating, they become a pain to use in real projects. Wellsaid is structured and reliable. Fish Audio has a much steeper learning curve. Minimax feels more technical and less beginner-friendly. ElevenLabs is easily one of the best balanced tools here. It is simple enough for beginners, but strong enough for serious creators. And this is exactly where Freepik becomes even more relevant. Because if you are already working inside Freepik, voice is not stuck on its own island. You can generate the voiceover, create music, add sound effects, and combine everything into your video workflow without leaving the platform. That makes the whole process more practical, especially if you are creating ads, social content, explainers, or short-form video. Now let's talk about value. Price matters, but only in context. The cheapest tool is not the best if it wastes your time. Wellsaid is one of the pricier options. Fish Audio gives strong value if you are willing to learn it. Minimax can be cost-effective for certain workloads. But overall, ElevenLabs gives the best balance between realism, usability, and consistency. So after testing all of them, my conclusion is pretty simple. If you care about realistic voice quality, emotional flexibility, and an interface that does not get in your way, ElevenLabs is still the strongest option overall. But if you care about real production workflow, not just isolated voice tests, then Freepik is the smarter environment to work in. Because Freepik gives you more than just voice generation, it gives you a broader creative system. You can generate voiceovers, layer in music and sound effects, and build content inside one connected workflow instead of patching everything together manually. That is what makes Freepik stand out. It turns great voice generation into something actually useful for creators, and for me, that is the bigger win.